Hi, I'm Adam Hunter here with Premier Scott Moe for a year-end discussion. Thanks for joining me, Premier.
Thanks so much, Adam.
How would you assess the last 12 months for yourself and for the Saskatchewan Party government?
I think it's it's an election year. The past year has been, and so we found our way, up to, including to right up to election evening. But I'll maybe speak a little more specifically to what's happened since the election, and I spoke about this on election night. We were very honored to form a fifth-term majority government here in the province, something that doesn't happen often, and we are very thankful to the people of Saskatchewan for electing the Saskatchewan Party. That being said, there are some adjustments that we need to make. And I think you saw, and Saskatchewan people saw those adjustments as we went into this short sitting in this election year with the speech from the throne and the focus that we had not only on enacting our affordability platform, but also ensuring that we are setting the foundation to deliver when it comes to healthcare outcomes, when it comes to educational outcomes, and when it comes to having a very serious discussion around supports and enforcement to ensure that our communities are safe.
A fifth straight majority government is a pretty impressive feat. I know that perhaps wasn't the total result you wanted because you did lose some seats and some significant names and people that left with retirements and also suffered defeats on election night. Was it disappointing, the results with the numbers, not the majority government?
The goal going in, and I'd said this going into the election this time, is always to form a majority government so that we can enact our platform on behalf of the people of Saskatchewan, and we certainly achieved that. That being said, we have a reduced majority, and that's how democracy works, and I think we can be thankful that we do have a democracy here. But the disappointment would be, for me would be I feel we have some capable people that aren't here right now, and some friends. We formed friendships down here, and I have some very close friends that weren't successful in this election. And so, do I think of that? Yes, I certainly do. But I also have a job to do as an MLA and as a leader and as a premier of the province, and that's to enact our platform, and that is to work alongside our governing caucus to ensure that we are listening to Saskatchewan people and we're delivering on not only what they elected us to do, but delivering on the message of change that they sent us as well. We live in a democracy. Certainly that played out not only in this last election, but plays out in every election and will federally very soon. We should be thankful for that democracy.
What do you do to try and build back some of your support in Regina and Saskatoon, where you lost some of those seats?
I think we need to focus on still do a number of things across healthcare and education, but really focus on what Saskatchewan people are telling us they see as necessary services to be provided to them. And I think you saw some of those commitments being made in the speech from the throne. Everyone in this province, everyone across Canada, I think right now is struggling to find a consistent primary health care provider. We're going to use the strength of the Saskatchewan economy to ensure that everyone in Saskatchewan is going to have the opportunity to have a primary health care provider. They're going to have the opportunity to have a surgery in what is a reasonable amount of time. And so really to focus in on some of the healthcare outcomes, the educational outcomes, and the community supports and safety outcomes that we heard about not only through the election, but I would say in the lead up to the election and certainly since.
When you reflect back on the campaign, were there things that you wish you would have done differently, or things that you said, okay, maybe that was a miss, we should have done that?
Well, I think if you look at the speech from the throne that we delivered, there are some differences in the speech from the throne than relative to what we ran on in the campaign. And although part of that speech is to deliver on what we ran on in the campaign. And when I look back at the campaign, it was a strong one. We were elected for a fifth consecutive time, which isn't lost on me that does not happen often anywhere in Canada, let alone in Saskatchewan. But it also isn't lost on me, the conversations that myself and MLAs and candidates had as to how we need to expand the scope of which we are having discussions with Saskatchewan people on delivering, very specific outcomes. Specifically, in what we heard was in that healthcare and education space, which was a lot of discussion in the lead up to the election. And so, some of the things in the speech from the throne that we committed to, I think, are things that, looking back, we should have had a little more open discussion in the lead up to the campaign as government and as a party.
There was a bit made about the change in policy that was something that you sort of backed away from post-election. Why was that something that you were at one point saying we need to do this, and then later we're going to maybe stick that with the school divisions?
Yeah, I was answering questions from the media on a day, and the first order of business comment that I had indicated is it isn't. The first order of business is go see the lieutenant governor, form a government, obviously select a cabinet, put together a legislative agenda, deliver on your platform. That being said, we're working right now with the school divisions across the province, all 27 of them, to ensure that there are policies in place that are supportive of every student in every classroom, in every school, in every community across this province. And that's a more collaborative approach, and I think it's an approach that you'll see will come to a very strong outcome that supports all students in our schools, and that needs to be the goal.
The member for Walsh Acres was critical of you, thinking that that policy reflected on his children. What was your reaction to his comments?
It's a policy. It's not about people, and we shouldn't be discussing people. This is a policy that, yes, has an impact on people, but that impact needs to be one of support.
When it comes to what's happening in the world right now, you mentioned that this fifth straight majority and incumbents are suffering defeats. Friends of yours and also people in all different stripes of government all around the world, there seems to be like a change movement a little bit. You were able to avoid that and still form government. We could see a change in the federal government, potentially. We've seen it in the US. What's your feeling about the next year and what's coming? Let's stay with Canada now, as far as potentially an election. And I know that's something you've been calling for a number of months now.
Yeah, and I think I would continue that call. Listen, 4 years is roughly about the tenure that Canadians would say that any government should serve. Federally, we have a minority government that is beyond that 4-year mark. That would be the norm for governments to serve. We see south of us, our largest trading partner and probably our largest ally as well, have just provided the most significant mandate to not only the White House with the President-elect Donald Trump, but also to the House and the Senate. The most significant mandate, I'd say, in recent history. And so, the administration in the U.S., as they come in the new year, they have a mandate to govern for 4 years. And I think when you look at how Canada as a nation, and we will be supportive as myself as one of the 13 premiers of Canada as a nation, engaging with the incoming U.S. administration. But when you look at the mandate that our government currently has, it's nowhere near as strong a mandate, and we could have an election literally at any given time. Maybe it's time for our Prime Minister and the federal minority government to do the right thing and offer Canadians the opportunity to choose who is going to have that mandate over the course of the next 4 years, to not only negotiate and represent them at the table with President Trump-elect and his administration, but to represent us over the next 4 years globally as well.
How important is a Team Canada approach? I heard Premier Ford's message yesterday about, having a united front, but also potentially having playing some cards on Canada's side of the border as far as maybe retaliatory or preemptive decisions on trade and energy products. What's your take on that?
I think there's 3 ways, and I'd said there's 3 ways for us as provincial leaders to really support the whole conversation with the U.S. and with the Trump administration. One is to support the federal government, whoever that is, in the negotiations and the conversations that they're having, because we all are Canadians first and foremost. Second is to work through our Council of Federation table, of which Premier Ford is currently the chair, to work with other premiers collectively on the contacts we have and to support one another which does make for a stronger nation of Canada. And then third is, and this is where I think Saskatchewan has some opportunities as well, is to utilize the contacts that we have acquired and the relationships that we have formed over the course of the last number of years, not just my tenure, the last 7 or so years as Premier, but our tenure as a government of 15 or 17 years now, but even as a province of Saskatchewan over the entirety of our existence. We have contacts and relationships with governors, with senators, with House representatives. We have contacts as well now within the administration, the Trump administration. Doug Burgum from North Dakota is going to be not only the Secretary of the Interior, but the chair of their energy security committee. And so we've been reaching out not only the last number of days, and that's going to intensify as we get into the new year. And I think as we get to a January 20th date where the administration will be sworn in, and you'll see a number of appointments after that, all of that engagement, then I think you will see really come to fruition, either at the national level, premiers supporting that national conversation, premiers working as regional leaders in areas that where we can collectively work together, and then premiers as well working on the own contact and relationship basis that they have, of which we have many as well.
What did you think of Premier Ford's, floated out a threat potentially if there are tariffs?
Oh yeah, I talked to him actually last night. Listen, each leader is, I think in fairness, looking at the tools that they have, positive and potentially, some of the tools might be a little more, negative in how they might be delivered. What we're looking at, Premier Ford can say what he wants to say as Premier of Ontario. What we're looking at is, how do we advance the conversation to get to a better place for the relationship that we have with the U.S., which is significant. About 55% of our exports find their way to the U.S. 80% of our imports into Saskatchewan come from the U.S. And so this is a significant relationship for us. We're not looking, I think in Saskatchewan's case, to in any way cut off the flow of those exports. We actually want to have the conversation around, how do we actually further this relationship that we have that provides not only people in North America with energy, food, and manufacturing security, but by extension, we provide those very same benefits to many other countries around the world. Our economy is very integrated across the border. We have pipelines that run back and forth, rail lines that run back and forth, highways and goods that run back and forth. We like big green American-built tractors and combines and Peterbilt trucks and all sorts of things. But in the same respect, the goods that we're producing and exporting often are having a value added to them on both sides of the border. And so we're looking for, how do we advance this conversation and really display the value of the relationship that Saskatchewan and U.S. states have moving forward, as opposed to, we're going to start pulling things away.
When it comes to next year's budget, and you made some commitments in the speech to the throne, you mentioned that some of the messages you've heard from voters is, we want a healthcare and education priorities, cost of living. Can you do all that in a budget, and also with this, looming threat potentially from the states, when you don't know how that's going to potentially affect things? Yeah,
the conversation with the U.S. is going to matter. Thus my comments on, maybe it's time for us to have an opportunity to provide a 4-year mandate to whoever is going to negotiate on behalf of us as Canadians. We do know now largely who's going to negotiate at the subnational levels, and we're going to do our level best to participate in that. As we look forward to the budget, I think all in all you can say that we are going to use one of, if not the strongest economy in Canada, the Saskatchewan economy, which is growing and vibrant, to deliver on the wants and needs of Saskatchewan people. We're going to use it to ensure that we are delivering some of the best health care that you can access in the nation. Everyone is going to have access to a primary health care provider, a surgery in a reasonable amount of time, and we're going to expand on what is working. The urgent care center here in Regina, I think, is working and working very well, and we're going to expand on that model into not only Saskatoon and another one in Regina, but Prince Albert, Moose Jaw, and North Battleford. And I think those are examples of using the economic strength that we have to deliver the asks that Saskatchewan families have. And so what was in the speech from the throne with respect to the commitments, that is the government's path forward over the course of the next year and likely the next number of years. And I think you can expect the budget in the spring to be focused on those initiatives.
We talked about, I think, in the past and even last year, I remember our discussion, you mentioned, mental health and addictions is something that you were concerned about in the province and people that are struggling right now. Situations haven't changed. What's your thought on how the provincial government's doing, what more needs to be done to help people that are struggling?
Well, I think we are on charting a reasonable course when it comes to providing supports for mental health and all too often subsequent addictions, and we're doing it on multiple fronts. But this also ties into the community safety aspect, and so the first front is providing those recovery supports, and the second initiative is to bring law enforcement into our communities. And so we talk about 500 recovery spaces being built out, and that is our commitment, and 500 police officers that are being built, that are being funded, RCMP officers, municipal officers, and of course the Marshal Service coming in to help and augment and enhance the services of both of the aforementioned, the RCMP and municipal officers. Presence equals prevention, and the Marshals are going to be able to provide some of that. But more importantly, I think, and what comes first are those recovery supports, whether it be those recovery beds, and that's where we want people to be. If we can agree on the fact that unfortunately, too many people will struggle with a mental health challenge and slip into, unfortunately, inadvertently or intentionally, a life of addictions. And we need to provide them that opportunity for a recovery bed. And that needs to be where they look. The streets are the most vulnerable place for people. And we need to move them along and ensure that they choose to find a recovery bed in this province and make it available for them. And we're doing very much trying to build out that capacity, provide those access points, again, through this urgent care model is one of those access points. But, I'll share a quick story that is impactful to me, and I would hope it'd be impactful to all Saskatchewan people, because mental health and addictions is not a community away. It is in the communities where we live, wherever that is, and it's impacting our friends and all too often our family members. But we'd opened a pilot of which is the complex needs shelters, the one in Saskatoon and one in Regina. Individuals that come in there are essentially under arrest. They are a danger to themselves or others, and often are under the are in the midst of some type of substance use. And we have healthcare supports in there to ensure that they have access to that. And the way out of that 24-hour detention is to have a family member pick you up, to be released by the police force, or to self-refer to a community-based support service. And we're over 90%, even over 95% self-referral. And to me, that's, people that are in the depths of maybe of an addiction or a tough time in their life that are reaching out. And it's incumbent on the government to ensure that we have the supports available in our community, that when they reach out, there's a hand for them to grasp. That's what we're trying to do in the space of supporting our friends and our family that unfortunately are in this spot with the poison that's on our streets. And all the while, we're going to ensure that we're always advocating for more enforcement officers to take the people that are providing this poison to our friends and family members off of the streets, and to take that product off of the streets. This is actually, as well, I think, some of the conversation around border security and fentanyl that's coming into not just the U.S., but I'm concerned about the fentanyl that's coming into Canada.
I'll switch gears here and ask you about your future. Have you thought about that? I know you just got a 4-year mandate yourself. That's something I think I ask you every year. Yeah. But what are your thoughts on your political future?
Well, I think all politicians really do break their life up into 4-year increments. And when you put your name on a ballot, you're committing to be present for the next 4 years. You're prepared to win. You also have to be prepared to not win. As it is a competitive process, the democracy that we have, and we can be thankful for the democracy that we have. And so I'd, put my name on the ballot. I've been here elected 13 years now, and which is getting to be longer in a political life cycle. I think many would agree. However, my name's on the ballot, and I committed to the next 4 years. But I also committed to myself when I ran in 2011 that I would always attempt to be a force for good, whether it be within the party that I believed in, which is the Saskatchewan Party. We're in government at that point and remain in government today, so it would be be a force for good for the province that I that raised me, that I live in, that I know and love. And certainly that still remains the primary focus for me, is to work alongside our caucus members in the Saskatchewan Party, our cabinet members in the Saskatchewan Party, but most importantly work alongside community members and families across Saskatchewan to continue improving the opportunities that we have today, and to continue to provide those opportunities for that next generation. It's that next generation that gets me up in the morning and drives the work that I do, and I am very honored for the opportunity that I've had to do it for in excess of a decade now, and I'm very honored in the fact that Saskatchewan people have provided myself and the Saskatchewan Party a 4-year mandate for a 5th consecutive time.
Premier, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, and I wish you, your family, and all your listeners the very best this Christmas.